Disclaimer, I worked at Sony very briefly as part of an internship about 8 years ago. That has not factored into or changed any part of my opinion presented in this video, but for the sake of transparency, I thought it was important to disclose. The internet is awash with people who are terrified that they will no longer own their games, despite most probably having had a Steam account for more than a decade. People worry that at any point their favorite genshin-like will be remotely shut off, and they'll be forced to play video games that are actually good. I should clarify now that this video is not about shaming people who want physical releases, because I understand the desire, almost. Having a plastic box with a small chip inside sounds stupid, but the novelty is certainly carried over from what's referred to as the glory days, even if there's no longer a manual. But there are obvious benefits to digital releases that I feel are getting ignored. To appreciate these benefits, consider both sides of the games industry, as in, look at things from a perspective outside of only what's preferable for the consumer. There are things that are good for video game publishers and not consumers straight up, obviously. But I think some of those things are worth entertaining because the boons of said things can find their way back to the consumer in the long term. As an example, consider this. Sony also announced some time back that they'd be closing PSN accounts that weren't active for a while, 3 years to be precise, up from the 18 months they proposed a while back, but no one likes to talk about that. Now, it goes without saying that losing something tied to your wallet in any capacity is a consumer nightmare, but in this case it only applies if you're almost certainly going out of your way not to use a PlayStation. Realistically, this will only deactivate people who are never going to pick up a PlayStation again in the first place. Sony will be able to narrow their efforts to the accounts that are actually engaging with their platform, instead of spending needless resources overseeing PSN profiles that are simply collecting dust. Having second thoughts after I explained that just now? Maybe. I want to just say before I continue that there's this tendency with YouTubers to put on this humble front, which I understand because it's a good look and it's important to seem, relatable and not pompous. Stuff like that. But I don't want to beat around the bush and pretend I don't know what I'm talking about because I feel that's unfair to you, so I'm going to put that kind of courtesy aside so I can speak more frankly. I'm not a software expert or the best at video games, but my time in the games industry did let me get my fingers on the pulse of what's going on. I have connections to people who aren't exactly entry-level employees, if that makes sense, but I'm not supposed to talk about that. Let's do a perspective shift. Currently, everyone thinks that buying games, even digital games, is like getting stuff in the mail. You order it, it comes, it's in your place, it's yours. In reality, with the increased prevalence of digital editions, that's not the case anymore. No pun intended. It's more apt to say things are like a museum. When you commission an artist on the internet, you don't own that art, not technically. It's something that gets put on display. You can download it, hell, you can share it, but it's not a physical thing you can remove and fiddle with. Would it really be fair to say that that art is yours even though you didn't make it? It's disingenuous to the artist. Yes, you bought it, but calling it yours feels like a step too far in my opinion. I'm sure you'll agree video games are art. I think the closer we move towards the museum mindset, the better off we'll be, and the games industry in general. Would it be great to actually have a physical, tangible product, which can't be remotely shut off, that we can call ours? Well, no, not really. Physically manufacturing something makes games cost more naturally. I'll say it again. Physically manufacturing something makes games cost more naturally. Not really something I need to elaborate on for obvious reasons. There's no tangible things to factory produce. It costs less. Many digital versions are $10 less, we know this. But have you considered we, as a species, don't have to put up with GameStop anymore? Yes. We don't have to attend midnight releases or super spreader events that cause unneeded suffering and subject ourselves to awful smells and employees trying to upsell us on literally everything. Here's the truth, many don't actually like owning their games. They like the idea of owning their games. It's nice to call something yours, to have it sit with you in your home every day, to know you can access it whenever you want. I recently dusted off my Wii U and played Wii Sports Resort with my family and it was a great time. But that game should never be called mine, not from an artistic or consumer perspective. People point to Sony's removal of purchased movies as proof that they're anti-consumer. Admittedly, I didn't look too deep into this, but who the hell is still watching movies on their PlayStation? I get it, something you paid for has disappeared and that hurts, but you probably have every movie on there on some streaming service you're already paying for. It's so self-indulgent, dude. People posture hard about how much they champion consumer rights, even though they're paying for 8 different subscription services and withering waves. These people don't want to own something. They want to give so much power to the consumer that it stifles the creativity and mental bandwidth of every development team and company out there. I know people are going to bring up the increased rarity of offline modes in the comments because it's partially tangential to what we're talking about now. The truth is, outside of rare circumstances, we are so often plugged into the internet that to factor in offline to anything, usually unreasonable. You can't wait until after your plane trip to end before finishing a chapter of T-Cole? Rip, man. Rip. Will you technically own your games? No, but you don't have to, because we haven't owned games for a while, and outside of developers being able to patch and improve our products in real time, it's been functionally identical, irregardless of tradition. So I'm glad I was able to educate you a little bit on this subject. I am Backdoor, I'm new here. Hope everyone takes this video well. I know it's a bit confrontational, but really I didn't mean it to be. Samantha, if you're still at PlayStation, hey, I left you an email the other day, let me know if you got it. Subscribe to see some opinions you might actually like. I have big plans for this channel going forward. Follow me on Blue Sky, all that social media stuff. Bye bye.